It's Friday, August 19th. From inside the WTOP newsroom, this is the DMV Download, brought to you by the men and women of Steamfitters Local 602. Today, it's no doubt the dog days of summer, or should we say the itchy days, are here. Mosquitoes are enjoying our humid, wetter than normal conditions in the DMV, but the chemicals that are used to kill the bugs that are the bane of our backyards could be doing much more damage than we know. Dr. Lynn Goldman with GW University gives us some perspective about just how bad it is to have your yard sprayed and what alternatives would do the job.
You don't actually need to indiscriminately just kill all the bugs in order to control the nuisance of having mosquitoes when there are simpler ways of controlling the mosquitoes.
And surely you've heard of artificial intelligence, but did you know you can use it to create one-of-a-kind art? We learn more about a new program that's gaining popularity. Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Cloherty. Luke is off this week. Spraying for mosquitoes is pretty commonplace around the DMV. You've likely seen it in your neighborhood if you haven't paid for the service before yourself, but the chemicals used by most commercial companies that spray are beginning to worry scientists who say pollinators like bees, butterflies, and even birds are also falling victim to the deadly treatment. Joining me now on Zoom is Dr. Lynn Goldman, Dean of George Washington University's School of Public Health and former assistant administrator at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you for being here on a Friday.
Thank you for having me.
Dr. Goldman, I think we all know, when you call a company to come spray your yard or even your home for bugs, those toxins are not good for you or for the environment as a whole. But tell us what kind of chemicals we're talking about and just how bad are they?
Well, they're bad from a couple of different perspectives. One is that all of them have some kind of health or public health side effects, some of which we understand very well, some of which we're still learning about. But also, they kill all insects. They don't just target the insects we don't like. They also target the insects that we like butterflies and bees, and insects that are very important as sources of food for songbirds and other species. So while we don't want to go out and get bitten by a mosquito, we also don't want to go out and have the world just be silent around us, that there are no birds because we've killed the bugs that the birds eat.
Anecdotally, it feels like there are more mosquitoes, but I kind of wonder if people are even using the service now more than maybe they had in past years, the spray service, because we are, we've been at home more. We're spending more times. Maybe you've customized your backyard and you want to be out there and you realize, gosh, I have so many mosquitoes. Is there any indication there's more mosquitoes now just because of the wet weather we've had? Do you know?
Well, there are more mosquitoes over a broad period of time because of the fact that the climate is getting warmer, and it happens to be in the DC area is an area that has become, if you may, more hospitable for mosquitoes,
right?
Because winters are warmer. The warmer months go on and on into fall, start early in spring. All of that is very favorable for mosquitoes. And, there's a certain kind of mosquito that loves people. It lives around homes. If you have even tiny amounts of water around your home, such as in flower pots or old tires or any kind of source of water, small amount, it'll breed in that.
Even the stuff that drips out of your air conditioning. I've heard that too, like the little pool outside your air conditioning unit is enough.
If you're allowing that water to pool and become a place where the mosquitoes can breed, and then they just love that they can. And so I think the most important thing is to control them at the source, to make sure you don't have that kind of water around your home.
Mm-hmm.
When you're spraying, what happens, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, the people who come out and spray don't target the spray just on where the mosquitoes are. They spray the entire lawn. They spray around the door frames and windows of your home. They spray around areas where children and toddlers are going to be playing, where your dogs or cats are going to play. And as I said before, they kill all insects. And some of those insects are the insects that, your robins, your Baltimore Orioles, your mockingbirds need those insects as a source of food. They're butterflies. We need to see butterflies. That's part of the joy of being outdoors. Fireflies. That's a great part about summer in a place like DC. And so you don't actually need to indiscriminately just kill all the bugs in order to control the nuisance of having mosquitoes, when there are simpler ways of controlling the mosquitoes in terms of dealing with their habitat, the pools of water, trying to avoid having places they can breed. The other thing you can do, of course, is apply mosquito repellent.
Right, just to yourself as opposed to the grounds around you or your house.
And when you do that, you're not killing anything. It's a little bit inconvenient. I don't like the bother of doing it myself. It's just another thing to remember. Spray that on, rub that on before you go out there. But it is an extremely effective way, and really more effective than just spraying your own lawn and home. Because as soon as that spraying is over, mosquitoes that are elsewhere in your neighborhood can just fly right over to your lawn and your house anyway.
Don't you think, doctor, though, because I know you're a pediatrician as well, people don't want to be spraying the DEET on them and the bug spray on them. And I know there are natural remedies. Many people don't think they work as well. Perhaps they do. We'll leave that up to their decision. But I mean, is it not the best for you to be spraying your chemicals on your kids? And if you're pregnant, something like that? I mean, that's kind of a concern as well, is it not?
Those chemicals are okay to use around children, and they were okay to use when you're pregnant. They are not recommended for use in very young children and infants. You don't want to put them on infants because their skin is much more fragile and they can absorb more of it. But it's fine to use it for your children. And if you're worried about the skin, and something that I tend to do anyway, if they're wearing shoes and socks, spray it on the shoes and socks, spray it on the shirt collars around the neck. They
That's
like
a
to
good
bite
idea.
it on
Yeah.
the sleeve. It doesn't have to be all on your skin. The bugs are repelled wherever you put it. Just don't like it.
We should say, too, that some companies who do go out and spray, they use mitigation strategies. Some of them, they don't spray on windy days, for example, or they just offer the residual barrier strategy where they're just spraying around maybe the perimeter of your property or your house. But it's funny, I looked up about only 10% of one company's clientele actually use that option. Most people kind of just want the general douse my yard approach. In your view, I mean, how is our area really contributing to this kind of wipeout of bugs and possibly birds, more so than other parts of the country, just because of the fact that, we're all centered around a swamp?
I wouldn't say we're really centered around a swamp. It feels that way in the middle of summer. But I think it is true that any place where there's excessive use of pesticides, and it's not unique to our area, it's across a broad swath of the country, we are contributing to the demise not only of insect species that are beneficial. I mean, after all, we don't have flowers, we don't have fruit without pollinators. And pollinators are bugs.
Right.
And so we need them. And I think we also contributing, though, overall to the exposure level to these chemicals in the population. And we talk about children and worried about children having bug repellent on their skin. I'm far more worried about children crawling around in the grass on the lawn shortly after a spraying, and that there's residual pesticide there that they can be picking up, or that their puppy is out there doing that, and then they're going to pick up their puppy and cuddle their puppy and pick it up that way. And so I think that it's better to avoid the use of chemicals for controlling these bugs wherever you possibly can. Put up with the annoyance of having the bugs. Use the bug repellent. Don't spray. And I would certainly say also, if you do spray, don't do it as an automatic thing on contract that just every X weeks somebody comes out and sprays. That's another thing that I think really magnifies the impacts of the spraying and increases the use of chemicals and the damage to the environment. And that is that people get into a contract where even when there aren't any mosquitoes, they think they should have the spraying done to prevent there from being mosquitoes in the future. And that really makes no sense at all.
Dr. Lynn Goldman bringing a lot of good information to us today on a summer bug that drives us crazy. But we have to remember, if you're outside, that's their habitat too. You have to share the space, right, with the bugs and the bees and the birds. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And coming up, we learn about a new AI your kids are probably already talking about that creates one-of-a-kind art based on whatever sentence you type in. Backed by the experience of its hardworking members, Steamfitters Local 602 is ready to take on your next commercial, heating, cooling, HVAC, or refrigeration project. Steamfitters Local 602 adds value to our community through its partnerships with local contractors and building owners, all while keeping the focus on improving the lives of its members and their families throughout the DMV. For work that's on time and on budget, go to steamfitters-602.org to schedule your next project. That's steamfitters-602.org. Steamfitters Local 602. Changing lives.
Thanks for listening to the DMV Download. If you like this show, give us 5 stars and leave us a review on Apple Podcast.
We love hearing from you guys, and your reviews really do help other listeners find this, our area's only in-depth daily local news podcast.
And thank you for making us a part of your day.
Okay, so before we go, we are going to tell you about this very cool new AI thing that all the kids are talking about on the TikTok. It's called Dall-E, and it is a neural network that creates images from text. And if that sounds confusing, you're in a good camp, because I'm right there with you. But David Munshank, our engineer extraordinaire, is here to describe it for us, because you got a special invitation or something. You asked to be part of this network.
Yeah, so about a month ago, I just randomly submitted an invite request for Dall-E.
Okay.
And got access to it. It's one of a few different programs that are out there right now that are all trying to accomplish this. One's called Crayon, one's called Midjourney.
Okay, but basically what is it? It's basically you write out a sentence.
Yeah, so you give a descriptive sentence as best you can of a certain scenario, an object, a style of art, and an artist, and the AI will take that information and grab a whole bunch of different info from a giant library of images it has access to via the internet.
Right.
And tries its best to create something that you're describing through that text.
So to give you guys an example, we did, well, David was kind enough. I sent him some random ideas, and then
good ones.
You tweaked them so that we could actually come up with some images. But we said, I'm going to put this on social media so you guys can see, but we said a rural radio station, I believe, in watercolor, and it gave us 4 options to pick from. And then we actually did the glass enclosed radio station.
So yeah, you can see the prompt at the top of the at the top of the list there. That one in particular referenced Edward Hopper because you can actually tell it a realist painting by Edward Hopper, and it will do its best to look like the artist that you're asking it to look like.
This one was a sketch of a Maryland Terrapin in front of 2 computer screens and a microphone.
Yeah, this one is maybe my favorite.
You guys have to see it, because it's just pretty cool that you could say, oh, I want this to be like Matisse style, put in a couple phrases and see what it pulls down for you. But you have said that there's a way to sort of write it out so you get the best return.
Yeah, so there's some ways in which that the AI is looking at natural language, like human language.
Yeah.
And how it places it together. So as you make things more complicated in your description, you have to kind of separate out the objects that you want to place into these pictures. So if you say a turtle wearing a red hat, a blue sweater, and yellow boots, it's going to try its best to pair that adjective with that noun, so the descriptor with the object.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, if you add too many of those, it starts to conflate them.
Okay.
So it doesn't really know what to do with all of that info.
Okay.
It has to pare it down.
Well, but okay, this is kind of maybe an obvious question, but how would you use this? Like, why? What is the point of this?
I guess for right now, it's for research. It's just trying to... The purpose that's listed from Dall-E itself, from OpenAI that develops Dall-E, is that they're just mostly trying to design a system that you tell it what to do and it learns how to do it. It's mostly an experiment. And right now it's limited to non-commercial use, just kind of playing around with it.
Yeah.
So I paid $15 and got 100 images, which I'm very happy for, because I can just send them to random coworkers. I had another person on the tech team. I sent him a picture of a panda sitting at a table. Pandas are his favorite animal.
Yeah.
Surrounded by snacks. And I said, like, Doritos and Mountain Dew, like
obviously
typical, stereotypical...
engineer food.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is Kate Ryan's cat, who I typed in, what did we say? An impressionist oil painting by Monet of a tabby cat with a white face, green eyes, knitting a pale blue sock.
Yes.
And that is what we got. You guys have to check this out on social media. I'll put a couple pictures up. David Munshank, thanks for sharing.
Of course.
This Dall-E thing that apparently you're going to start seeing in a lot of places, I think.
I think so too. I think there's a lot of implications to it as well. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to the way that they're using this AI and the way that this AI is going to interact with other types of art in the future.
Computers are getting smarter.
They are.
Anytime
you want to ask me about nerdy stuff, let me know.
I'll take you up on that. And that'll do it for us today on the DMV Download. We are sponsored by Steamfitters Local 602. Our managing editor is Craig Schwab, and our music is by Real World. Leave us a review and rate our show if you get the chance. And follow us on thedmvdownload.com to become a VIP listener. The DMV Download is a product of WTOP News. Listen on 103.5 FM in the D.C. area, 107.7 FM in Virginia, 103.9 FM in Frederick, online at WTOP.com and on the WTOP News app. Have a good weekend.